YouTube and BCA friends. My name is Mei Lun, and I want to share with you some latest cryptocurrency news. Let's start right here with Tesla. Tesla sells majority of Bitcoin after turbulent crypto foray. The producer of electric vehicles revealed in February 2021 that it had invested $1.5 billion in Bitcoin. That April, it sold 10% of its holdings. Tesla reported on Wednesday that the value of its digital assets had dropped $218 million and that a Bitcoin impairment had reduced second quarter revenue. Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla, stated on the earnings conference call that due to the uncertainty surrounding the COVID shutdowns, the business sold the Bitcoin to maximize its cash position. The transaction, he said, shouldn't be interpreted as any judgment on Bitcoin. Musk has nevertheless positioned himself as a pro-crypto advocate, hinting in recent weeks that his other company, SpaceX, may follow Tesla in the future by accepting Dogecoin for the purchase of goods. With $218 million in leftover digital assets on its balance sheet, Josh Olszewski, head of research at cryptocurrency fund manager Valkyrie Investments, said ballpark estimations would place Tesla's Bitcoin sales at around the 30,000 price level. This choice was probably influenced by the year's strong market bearish as well as the requirement for cash on the balance sheet. And moving on to some news on Coinbase. Coinbase says it has no exposure to failed crypto firms Celsius, 3AC, and Voyager. Each of the above firms filed for bankruptcy after a crash in crypto prices led to liquidations of massively leveraged positions. Coinbase continued, "We have not engaged in these kinds of dangerous lending methods and have instead concentrated on developing our financing company with caution and a careful emphasis on the consumer." According to Coinbase, solvency issues at parties like Celsius, Three Arrows, Voyager, and others were a manifestation of poor risk controls. The problems were predictable and really credit specific, not crypto particular in nature, the statement continued. It stated that Coinbase always keeps customer assets 1-to-1 ratio, indicating that user monies are accessible for withdrawal at any time. According to the statement, we have a record of no losses from our financing book and no exposure to counterparty insolvencies, since we've always required 100% plus collateral. In the end, bankruptcy petitions for Celsius, 3AC, and Voyager were submitted. The market collapse has also caused ZipMax, a well-known cryptocurrency exchange based in Singapore that mostly serves the Asian market, to cease withdrawals. Next piece of news involving Bitcoin. Bitcoin recovers, but for how long? The price of Bitcoin has returned to a level last seen in the middle of June. The leading cryptocurrency increased by over 5% over the previous 24 hours and by 20% over the previous 7 days to reach 24,000 on Wednesday. On the Crypto Fear and Greed Index, the overall market sentiment finally moved out of the extreme fear zone and into the fear zone for the first time in April. What fuels the recovery of Bitcoin? One of the major factors that contributed to the current confidence in the cryptocurrency markets, according to industry experts, was the recovery of the overall equity markets. The major market indices, including the Dow Jones and S&P 500, have recovered from last month's falls. After the corporate earnings reports revealed better financial performance than anticipated from Q2, the upbeat attitudes returned. Despite this, internal issues like the bankruptcy and dissolution of companies like Celsius and Three Arrows Capital caused the cryptocurrency market to be unstable. Smaller scale initiatives saw fair and liquid withdrawals as a result of the collapse of major capital currencies lenders. Several market participants already stopped accepting cryptocurrency withdrawals due to financial hardships and choppy market circumstances. So, has the crypto bear market ended? If your answer is no, then how many more months will the recent crypto winter last? Please comment on the chat. We would love to hear your thoughts. Before I go, I would like to end with this 4-minute video. It's a video from Raoul Pal. He's the founder and CEO of Global Macro Investor and Real Vision. He explains why the much anticipated supercycle didn't happen and how inflation is stealing money from the crypto market. Raoul also explains his take on the Bitcoin cycle.
He's the founder and CEO of Global Macro Investor and of Real Vision. Let's bring Raoul on. How are you doing, Raoul? I want to know your opinion of what on earth happened at the end of last year. We were all sort of expecting this super cycle, and we didn't quite get it. What happened?
I think two things happened. Firstly, price got ahead of network activity. So what happened was there wasn't a lot of new transactions in the network, i.e. the value transacted wasn't going up, and the number of new wallets or active wallets wasn't going up. So price went up and the network didn't, and it didn't stick. And the issue was inflation. So why does inflation matter? Well, because the crypto is still a retail network, right? It's really driven by retail. And if you've raised prices on people and wages don't go up as much, they've got less discretionary income. That discretionary income was the dollar cost averaging that went into crypto. And so people stopped because they had to pay their grocery bills or their rent. So that's why it just stopped. So it shows how macroeconomics influences crypto markets in ways that people don't quite yet understand. But that was the big thing that happened end of last year and has continued to weigh on the market this year because network growth hasn't really improved. So we've seen rotations within the market. So we saw people switching from ETH to layer ones, and we saw NFTs hold their value, stuff as people are reallocating what they've got in the market, generally reallocating ETH. A lot of Bitcoin people, tend to stick with Bitcoin. But a lot of the ETH people reallocated to different parts of ETH, like, NFTs particularly got a lot of attention.
You make an interesting point about inflation because a lot of people sort of say, oh, inflation's up and so the market's going to go because people are going to be moving to Bitcoin. Bitcoin's down today. Inflation apparently is at new record highs today at 8.5% in the US. So where do you think we're at with the market right now? It's a bit of a confusing situation. We can talk about cycles in a minute, but where specifically do you think we're at with the market?
The balance of probabilities is that we made the low last year, we retested the low this year, and I think the low is in. But who the hell really knows, right? So, I got the back end of last year wrong like everybody else. I thought, we were going to get this run and we didn't see it, a potential dynamic that's different. So I think the cycles have changed. And I think, over time, these very volatile trends get less volatile. And we saw that with Amazon in its early days. It was like up and down 95%, then 65%, and then it just gets less and less and less because more people are in the network. So it's the same with crypto now. There's 600 million people, 300 million people using it now. So what's happening is the volatility dampens. So, I think the new down 85% is the new down 50, is the down 50 where we are now. So it's kind of like we've had a bear market. We've been in a bear market for a year. Could it go down 65%? Possibly. But, it's unlikely to go down 85%. People have a very recency bias and they only know what they know. And people who've been in the Bitcoin market have only been around, a network adoption model for a decade. So they've only seen a few cycles. But if you go to Facebook, Amazon, Google, they've all had these for decades and you can see how they work and they tend to lower volatility over time.
So you don't think we'd necessarily have to wait an entire 4 years with that cold winter till we see a new all-time high?
No, I don't. It's possible, but I don't think it's the most likely outcome now. I think, we just need the macro environment to shift a bit. And we've got different players in the market and it's a much deeper market there now than it used to be.
We hope that you have enjoyed this insightful video report. Please give it a like and do share it with your friends. To explore further on profitable Bitcoin analysis, please check out our live Bitcoin seminars and webinar events. The link access to the event platforms are listed in the description of this video below.